Absolutely. I will tell you this, and I think you'll agree with it. Just statistically, of course, there's a lot of absolute stud Green Berets that went to mountain teams, never went to a cool guy school after that, and they were great shooters, and they were heroes in combat. But I will tell you this: if you give me 12 guys, that all 12 of these guys are Special Forces, Ranger School, combat divers, and put them on one team, and you give another guy of just the minimal amount of requirements, overall, statistically and generally speaking, that team over there is going to be the better team. And I don't think it'll even be close. But it's not the Ranger School or the dive school that made them better. And you already know the answer. Why is it that generally speaking they're going to be better on that? Well, that's where you're going to put your money.
What is going to be really because the drive they have, and it's the humbleness and it's intense, everything they're trying to do. Yeah. And people have a tendency of, I've made it here, I'm good. It goes, no, that's just, you just got in. You have to completely, it's always improving your fighting position kind of concept, right?
Yeah.
You should always look at how do I improve myself, what school, and it's not for you, it's for the team. And people will get upset sometimes, talk about, hey man, go to hazmat. Like, what do you mean go to hazmat course? I'm telling you right now, you need a hazmat guy on your team, and if you're not hazmat qualified, guess what? You're not going on that bird, or something's not going on, another team's going to get it kind of thing. Yeah. It's those little things people don't understand, but it's always trying to improve your fighting position. If you think, I'm done with the Q course, it continues. That's just the beginning of the courses you need to get stacked on you.
Yeah. I knew that was going to be your answer. Because you taught me how to think like that. But it's true, Sean. Unfortunately, you get to take the credit for a lot of good qualities about me. There's some people who don't like me as much and think I'm not anymore, but at times thought I was a little bit of a prima donna, and you have to take credit for that too.
I do. Trust me, there are plenty of people that, even though I was a CSM, still thought I was kind of an asshole. And I was like, but if I was an asshole to you, you probably deserved it.
I already know that.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Same thing here. I had even when I was at the unit, at times, whether it be a support guy or another operator, remembered me as a SFAO constructor. And you either really liked me as a SFAO constructor, or you did not like me as a SFAO constructor. And I was okay with that, because if you didn't like me, then you didn't meet a standard. Yeah. And I doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to be like overly mean to you, but I'm not going to treat you and pretend like you met a standard that you did not meet. I'm just willing to let you know that, and other men aren't, and shame on them, because they'll say that behind your back. You're just mad at me because I'm willing to treat you how I think about you, and for what I believe to be good reasons.
And that's the key thing with all the SFAO, whatever courses we're going to, man. It's the standards are the standards all the time, and that's where you want it, And it's in a world like today, it's difficult to see those standards start shifting here in places, but it's simple rule. Here's the standards, just meet the standards, and then go above beyond the standards. If you want to go to a different team, you can, but here's the standard. Here's the standards for generally you're coming out of here, and here's the standards for our team. Here's figure it out.
Luckily, I never had to put this into practice, but I know it at this point in my life. At some point in dive school pool phase, I thought about quitting. I really did.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I really hope I pass this school, because I will never come back to this school. When you're in the thick of it, it's an emotional time. I don't know if I would have. I'd like to think that I would have, but I don't know for a fact.
Right.
So, even though you did do that, and you've proven that you'll take that challenge and you'll go back, my question is really about Ranger School as well. Let's put you all the way in Florida phase or somewhere deep in that school. That's a much longer school. Much longer commitment. Although you passed it first time go on everything, correct?
Well, I got recycled Rangers and mountain phase.
And mountain phase. Yeah. And mountain phase.
Yep. Stayed up mountain phase, I had blueberry pancakes twice, kind of thing.
If you'd have failed Ranger School, would you have gone back?
I wouldn't. I'm not sure I won't even approach that subject right now. I would. It depending how where you were when you when you failed or something kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like when I went to Ranger school, it was 82 days, and you did a pre-Ranger prior kind of thing, and I was like 5% body fat, and I lost 22 goddamn pounds at Ranger school. You know, my mom didn't even recognize me. The problem with Ranger school, because I did it backwards, right? I mean, you should have gone to Ranger school before you went to SF. Really should have. You know, because like you said, you're going to Ranger school and you're like, well, why don't we do this and this? Your mind is trying to figure things out coming from SF. Your mentality is different, right?
Right.
And Ranger school is like, you get up that rock, Ranger. I'm like, well, I'm just go around the rock. It's easy to go around the rock. Right. You know, it's that mentality. So you have to get over this mentality that, hey, you're treated like a private. Get back to being a private. You know, even though you got all this stuff underneath your belt already, you're back to a private and you lead guys because. The distinct difference really in Ranger school and going to selection in the Q course and all that stuff, those guys are there for a lifetime change. It is something completely different. A lot of guys go to Ranger school are going for Ranger tab, and you have people from all mixed community, you know, and you got to deal with different mentalities. They don't have the same mentality you have, you know, and so you're dealing with that piece. But you really got till the end in Florida phase was when I really they let me loose a little bit and let me go a little more unconventional and do the things with the ambushes and the raids and we were a little just kind of piece. But what was nice about Ranger School is that when we got to Florida phase, I did all of, even the mountain phase, I did all of the river crossings and stuff, you know, tied a rope up kind of piece. And the guys on the side, a lot of them didn't make it or went to dive school with me. And so I'd go over there, set the rope up, you know, and then I have a Snickers bar with them kind of thing, hook it up, you know.
Oh, the instructors?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Instructors kind of,
you
know, so it was like, hey, I remember you from dive school, you know, kind of that, you know.
Yeah. You'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
For sure.
You know. But yeah, it was different. It's a different mentality, and it's something. It's like, man, it's 82 days long, and you get recycled. You know, and it's like, man, it's taking forever. And the problem about a recycle is it may not be your fault. You've got a compass man who puts you in the wrong spot. But guess what? You're the leader.
It falls on you.
And I remember exactly where I got my recycle. I was the platoon sergeant, and we were in a patrol base, a patrol halt, security halt, and checking map. The leader was checking the map or something. And then we rolled out to get a head count everybody out, and I stop. I say, we're missing someone. And I said, I get a positive head count. Okay, we're missing one person. Go back, found them, sleeping against a tree. The reason that I failed, it was my radio man. It was asleep. Count out. So they gave me a no-go. That was my no-go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
So it may always be on you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Doing it a little bit backwards, but while you were telling that story, it reminded me of how you showed up to Ranger School. Not as smooth as maybe you'd want to show up to Ranger School.
No,
in hindsight, how'd that go?
That went. Well, the orders said you had to be there by a minimum time. Why would I want to be there 3 hours ahead of time? You know, you show up the last minute kind of thing.
Right.
And I think it was me and Mark. We stopped and had a steak, had a beer. You know, chilled out, and we rolled up there, and we rolled into the barracks there, and they're all sitting on the ground, and the RI was there, and he looks at us, and he goes, "Who you guys are?" Well, we're, you know, so and so and so and so. And he goes, "You better get your ass." He starts yelling at us, and he goes, "You aren't in the team room anymore. Get down and get your shit. Get back up here." And you're like, "Oh no, man!"
But you know, that's exactly why you don't show up 3 hours early as well, right? They were going to treat you in a better 3 hours before that.
Yeah, man. But yeah, that was a rude awakening. Me and Mark walking to that one. So.
Speaking of Ranger School, I did not get to go to Ranger School. I went to pre-Ranger.
You did? Yep.
And then I had to wait for orders to go to Ranger School. We ended up going to combat. Then I went back to OTC.
Yep.
Just like we had talked about, windows close.
Yep.
You don't know when that window is going to close. But I argued with you. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember it.
Okay. I said...
We both have different stories to this.
So I don't have to go to pre-Ranger. I'd like to go to, I said, I want to go to Ranger School, Sean.
Yeah.
And you said, well, all right, we'll go get a pre-Ranger date. I said, well, I don't have to go to pre-Ranger. It's not a prerequisite. I would like to go straight to Ranger School. And do you remember what you told me? You said, you're going to pre-Ranger, Brent. And I said, why?
I think probably said, because I went to pre-Ranger.
That's exactly, that's exactly your answer. And that's, in a weird way, I always respected you for that, because it goes back to other people will give you a softer answer when you know the real answer is. If you'd have told me a different answer, because it's good for you, I'd have walked away from that and I'd have gone, he's making me go because he went.
Exactly.
But you at least had the decency, whether I want to hear it or not, it said, oh, Brent, I'll tell you why you're going. Because I went to pre-Ranger, so you're going to pre-Ranger. And it's really hard to argue that at the same time as well.
That's it, yeah. People get it, man, because I went and did it. You're going to go do it. You're going to suck like I sucked.
If you've ever been to any of my tactical training classes, then you know how adamant I am about the use of white light and the importance of a quality, high-powered tactical light. That's why I use Cloud Defensive Tac Lights. You can't hit what you can't see, and neither can the bad guys. Clearly identify your target and simultaneously overwhelm his vision with hundreds and even thousands of lumens. Get serious about defending yourself and your family. Go to clouddefensive.com and use promo code TIER1 to get 30% off your order. That's right, 30%. You won't find a better light than this, and you won't find a better deal than this. So you got to see a lot of the military before 9/11. Then you got to see the whole GWAT. You were a young team guy early on the GWAT, and then served really at the highest levels as a senior enlisted advisor to star level counterparts at the end. Separating the 90s Army to the GWAT, is it your opinion that the 90s Army was still a good Army, or do you think we were to some degree just playing Army at the same time? Well, what do you think the culture was for that?
I think there's a little more if you go a little further back in that from when I went first in, right? You still had a lot of guys from the 80s, Those guys from the 80s, they did, some were old school, like barely hanging on Vietnam guys, something like that maybe, but they had served their time. But a lot of those guys, it's like they weren't ready. They weren't designed to go to what we were doing. And so you didn't see a lot of those guys move forward. They were like cutting away kind of thing. So you started having seen the young guys or the guys that were a little older than me that had gone through the Q course and all that stuff in the 90s, but they came from like Ranger Battalion, Infantry, the Marine Corps or something like that. So they had experience. Those guys were the guys moving forward, and so that was the change mentality. So you saw most of those guys go into it kind of piece. And it was definitely interesting. Like you said, it was to suddenly, hey man, we're going to war, because at that time I had like 11 years in. And so it was kind of those things you can make a decision. You stay in there or getting out. Right. Because you did FIDs, you did little things around the area. But, not a huge amount of things going on kind of thing. But it was, but then when 9/11 happened, that changed everything. It was like the Olympics, man. You're going to the Olympics now. You're going, why would you get out?
Everything just got real.
Yeah. You're trained for this, and that was the perspective and the mentality was when are we going? Let's go now,
Before 9/11 hit, which was obviously now your priorities changed, you had a real unique part of your career where you spent a little bit of time in L.A., correct? Or that area?
Yeah, I was in San Francisco, but for the you talk about the movie?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Right, actually, matter of fact, before 9/11 happened, it was the roughly the summer prior, so summer of 2001, was that we were soldiers up in Fort... it's in California. I can't remember the name right off the top of my head now. But we were shooting, all the Vietnam scenes were shot there. So I got pulled into that.
How'd you get connected with that?
If I remember right, through my brother had a friend, and he was asking, he said, hey, my brother is this. And he goes, really? Have him come out, like talk to him kind of piece. And so I went out there, and he said, hey, man, we'd love to bring you on. I love your background experience. I'd love to bring you on. And so that's where he tied me into it kind of thing. And so once I then got into the film part of it, they before Mel Gibson and all of them came out, we were training I was training like the Lost Platoon guys, not the main actors guys, but the guys around them kind of thing, on like patrol-based activities, when you're attacked at a patrol base, all that kind of stuff like that. And that was, so my intent was just to do like a military advising kind of piece. Right. And then they asked, would I be an extra kind of piece? And they came up to me and goes, hey, Sean, we would love you to be the platoon sergeant, but you look like you're 12. And in Vietnam, they didn't have 12-year-old platoon sergeants. I said, got it.
Reoccurring theme for you.
It keeps on going, man. It just keeps on going,
You can't put that Hollywood magic on me and make me look a little bit older?
I know. I was like, come on, guys. But yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, it was an interesting experience. So, with Mel Gibson, Sam Elliott, Barry Pepper, trained Mel Gibson's twin boys, how to run with them, carry a weapon, and all that kind of stuff, and a bunch of stuff like that. So it was really neat interesting to be on the set, the Hollywood set. But it was also very, because your intent wasn't to go to Hollywood, so you're just kind of having a fun time,
Right.
Where everybody else their intent was to go to Hollywood, so they're sucking up the bosses and all this kind of stuff, and a lot of shenanigans going on because they're just trying to get their piece in Hollywood, But it was interesting to see all that and the money they spent and all that too. But it was good. Yeah. It was neat. It
was a great movie.
Yeah.
The book was even better.
The book was
I
good.
read that book before I saw the movie. Great book,
at the end of the movie, they messed up. They didn't follow the book though. If I remember right, they had the helicopters come in and destroy everybody.
They had the Hollywood ending.
Yeah, it was the Hollywood ending for that piece.
It seemed to be pretty historically. I can't remember the exact of it, but it seemed to, when I watched it, the book was fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
It seemed to be pretty accurate until the Hollywood ending. But I get it. That's Hollywood.
Yeah, it was Hollywood, and it was interesting to see when I was teaching them how to do, patrolling, wedge formation, stuff like that. I remember Sergeant Major from the book, what's his name, man, that wrote the book with him. He was out there, and they're like, hey, we did wedge formations. It was always ducks in a row, so you readjusted everything.
Really?
And I was teaching him call for fire because we didn't do that call like that. Because I was doing modern day call of fire. He's like, no, this is you, this is me, drop bombs over here kind of thing, All right, shift gears.
It's funny that's what he told you. That was the reality in combat.
Yeah.
And at the time, you were schoolhouse trained.
Yeah.
So in the schoolhouse, what movement type or formation did we use going, to the objective?
The schoolhouse was basically a wedge formation, and if it was at night or something, you would rotate into Rangers in a file kind of piece. Yeah, but it's all terrain dependent. Right. Yeah.
Right. And so you were given the right answer for what you know. How'd we move from HLZ to the objective in Afghanistan and Iraq?
You were no wedge formation. Right? It was just get to the objective, Ranger file, right? I get fast you can kind of thing.
It's so funny to some degree. The wars change of sorts, but the reality of war, there's a lot of things that are still very similar.
Yeah, and that's the true reality is when you get to your school training, but that's what school trainers do, right? Is to give you that 80% solution, right? And then when you get to the ground, is to adjust what you need to adjust, and wartime that 20% adjust, and that's what you did overseas. And that was some of the hardest thing for me was that, and probably fast forward a little too much in this one, but when I moved from a team to sergeant major, it was more difficult to watch that bird on the big TV, the drones, coming in on satellite, watching, and that bird hovering there or something, man. You're like, hey, man, get the guys off the bird. Get them off the bird. You're a floating bus right now, and you're ready for an RPG to hit you kind of thing,
And you know that because you've been on the bird.
Yeah, you've been on the bird. When you're not thinking that in the bird, you're like, let's get the ground. You're exempt.
It is kind of funny to think that because, and you're saying all that when you're on the bird. Although what you just said, I never got that high and to watch. So like as leadership,
right?
My men, like this is what's happening. I left at a team level, but if you'd have asked me, hey, what's one of the most dangerous parts of the operation? I'd tell you, well, infill is when you're most vulnerable.
Yeah. Yep.
But when you're doing it in the bird, all you're thinking about is the next steps.
Yeah.
Yes, get me on the ground, but you're thinking, you're looking out the window. Where am I? Okay, this is how we're going to move. Everything's starting to line up what I think it is, but now that we're here, do I know where I'm at on the ground? What's the breach point? Like you think about everything else.
Yeah.
But when you get to watch it from leadership, from that, those aren't your thoughts. No. It's the guys in the birds' thoughts. Yeah. You get to really focus on what is wrong right now.